here at Nkosi Talk Shows, Find Your Own Voice, lead from within. So with me today, I'm with Carol Ann Cooper. How are you, Carol Ann?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good,
Cool.
good. Weather is not good today.
No,
No,
it's a bit grey here. What's it like your way then? When you say it's not good?
it's gray as well. A little bit
Um,
of rain as well.
okay, okay. But
So
it's, yeah.
the topic today, Carol Ann chosen, is Beyond the School Gate, Reimagining Education for Children Who Don't Fit the System. Not every child is broken, some are simply misplaced. Beyond the school gate stands a quiet crisis, children who are bright, but labeled disruptive, creative, but called distracted, deep thinkers, but judged as slow, emotionally sensitive, but branded difficult. So the system was built for standardization, but children were born for uniqueness. This is not a rebellion against the education. It is called to refine it. So there are children who don't fit the classroom mold, not because they lack intelligent discipline or potential, but because their mind moves different, their spirit bends different, and their gifts requires a different kind of soil. So, Carol Ann, you chose this topic. Would you like to share with our audience why you chose the topic? What was
Yeah,
on your
it's actually we're sort of moving on from where we've been talking the last 3 weeks, and it's actually um, looking at and helping the parents to actually move out of that crisis mode that they find themselves in and into what's called agency. Now, agency is actually the capacity of the parents to act with intention and actually influence outcomes related to their children's well-being and development. Whereas at the moment, they feel like they have no control of it. They're not able to think clearly because they're so stressed out and they feel that they can't have a say, they don't have a say, and they're totally sort of run by fear. And so it's actually helping them so that move out of this crisis mode without being rushed. Because when you try and rush something, it closes it down. Um, so, or sort of pushed into the sort of these false ideas of it's the school versus no school, compliance versus failure, or attendance versus care. You're sort of in that world of duality. And this week sort of actually is about expanding the frame. Many parents realize this isn't just about getting their child back into school. There's actually a bigger question. It's about what kind of education actually serves their child's nervous system, child's dignity, and long-term well-being. So that's where we need to be looking at, and how can the parents, restore their agency, their own ability to create, have um, influence the outcome here. So we're not actually abandoning education. It's not about saying, no, 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 not education. It's about freeing up from that single rigid form. There's a rigidity to it. And may bring in some flexibility, some thinking outside the box, and getting rid of that idea that there's just one path, one way only. So that's where all of this sort of comes down to. And our education system, she said, it was designed for standardization. And I think you just said that. Did I hear you use that word? And so it's not about diversity of the nervous system, learning styles, or emotional needs. That has never been brought into it. And what the children of today are bringing in is that need to focus on that, to shift everything, change the narrative around education, and shift and not break, but create some flexibility and expansion of what is there already, and free up from that this standardization myth, that everybody is the same. And even when I was at teacher training college, we were taught, and this was over, God, 50 years ago. I'm just adding up the numbers like, oh my God, yeah. Then we would even then we were taught about this, the sort of the visual, the auditory, the kinesthetic. So different ways of learning, different learning styles. So there was, an idea that there is differences, but what's coming in now are the impact of a lot of other things. And it's about the child's nervous system and them feeling safe and how they can cope. And actually, I believe that they don't need the education system in the form that it's in, because these are souls that are coming in who are here for a different kind of education. Yes, there is a need to learn to read and write, but I think it's within a different framework. Yeah. So this is where, I think this is coming from for me. What do you think, Namsa?
I actually like when you say helping children and parents out of crisis mode without being rushed. I think that is really, really, really important. I've seen when I was taking my daughter for looking for a place. The woman said what things that you've just said. She said I said, why do you have to have all these too many appointments and different days and stuff? She said before we used to have just one test where children would just come on and we do the test, and then we realize that some children are different. Some might be nervous, some they might be, so it's important to bring them for interview, talk to them face to face first.
Mm.
If we talk to them face to face, it means that we have met the child, we've interviewed them, and we know where they are by just asking questions, not just assessing based on intelligence. So she was like, we want to assess a child in different ways so they get the
Mm.
opportunity. We don't just say, oh, be based on intelligence, you can't get a place. So then I was like, yeah, actually, I think that makes sense, because if I go to a place and I'm told, here's the exams, do the exams, you qualify, you don't
Mm.
qualify. So I might be having a bad day that day. So I think that is really, really important, what you just said, Kero Anne, and also like redefining the intelligence as well. That is not just a test score, includes the creativity, emotional awareness of that child as well. And the environment of a child is really, really important, and also special reason, problem solving as well. And I think empathy and the innovation also plays a part as well. But when we broaden all these things, the definition, more children certainly qualify as brilliant. Um, but I think some system are created for, because I always have to tell my children that if you go somewhere, is maybe to a place, and you have to take exams or they assess you, they say you don't qualify. Don't like feel bad about it, because I might, if I left home and I'm having a bad day and I'm the judge examiner, you're just gonna get that from me, like to say you're not good enough. But not because you're not good, it's because you're not what I'm looking for that day. So I always let my children know that you have to evaluate yourself, you're good enough. And also, I think the system for the parents as well. I think parents need support, like what you said, not rushed. Things needs to be evaluated properly and not rushed. And when you evaluate it, you analyze where does this child fit in? Where does this child, what kind of a help the child needs, and things like that. I think that is really, really important because um, when you go to school now, you are expected to be like everybody else, but that's
Mm.
impossible.
Mm. Yeah.
Completely, completely impossible. My mom is got, my father and my mom, they've got how many kids? And we're completely different. So to expect all the children at
Mhm.
school with the one system, it doesn't work.
No. And I like what you said there. You know, they wanted to speak with the child to see them, who they are, what their needs are, but also I guess what they can bring to the school and what the school can
Yeah,
give to them. It's like a two-way street. But there's clearly there a realization that there's more to assessing a child than those IQ tests, you know, and having exams only, it just means that it's a child that can pass an exam. They can retain something, recall it, and pass an exam. That does not show up anything else that that child is capable of. And there's a whole host of abilities that is just squashed in that rigidity and that's that system. So yeah, finding out about the child. And I love what you're saying about, you know, where they where do they fit in versus, and I sort of wrote down here, yeah, where they fit in versus they have to fit in. Because at the moment it's a case of they have to fit in. This is the
yeah,
system. You fit in it. Well, actually, no. How can they fit in? You know, where do they
yeah,
fit in?
yeah,
It's again, it's expanding it and adapting so that it's where's their place in this system. So it's a complex system and they can find their place in it because society is a complex system. Life is a complex system, but being able to live it. So if you can bring that sort of education into education, it helps them for life because you get into society, you get into jobs and social settings, and you feel, where do I fit in? Where do I fit in? I don't fit in here. And they're exploring around, and very often, and I felt this, and I'm starting to now feel more places that I do fit in. I felt I haven't fitted in. It's like I don't feel like I fit in here. Where do I fit? And so if there is that opportunity to help children to find where do I fit in, where and you support them, the education system supports them in that, you then find you've got adults who feel secure. Their nervous system feels safe because they feel, oh, this is where I fit. This is where I fit in. And it doesn't need to be just in one place. It can be in several places, but they find that common thread perhaps within each of the groups that they belong to. And they say they feel, oh, this is where I fit in. But they also get to know why they feel they fit in there because they're getting to know themselves. And that's what's important. Because sort of, yeah, dumping somebody into a situation and saying, oh, you fit there. Why? How? Have you actually spoken to the child? Do they feel comfortable? Do they feel safe? Do they actually feel like they fit in? Maybe there's some criteria that someone's used to say, yeah, you fit here, because they've only taken one piece of that child and understood one aspect of that child, that person. And then there's all, you spoke about intelligence. There's different intelligence, and there is the oh, I can't remember what it's called now, but there's the 7 intelligences, multiple intelligences. That's right. And there were 7. I think, is it somebody Gardner, his multiple intelligences model. And I know when I was studying that years ago, um, there were 7, and I think 8. There was an 8th one, but there was also a 9th one emerging, which was existential intelligence. And as you mentioned intelligence, I suddenly thought of that, and I'm thinking, is that what's emerging now? Existential intelligence. Souls that are wanting to know more about their existence. Because this is conversations I used to have with my second eldest granddaughter when she was quite young. We'd sit at the table, and after dinner we'd be talking, and they were really a lot of existential questions that she was asking about. And I was thinking, wow, where's this coming from? So again, if there are those sort of questions going on inside these souls, their nervous system is not going to feel safe if they're not answered. So I think there is a case for maybe exploring that intelligence, that existential intelligence that is coming out. And again, it's exploring that, but because it's something new for parents as well. It's how does this get presented? And it's enabling parents to understand this, to support their children. So there's a whole other realm of education here that's emerging. And this is where I'm just getting a sense of maybe your Pastor Henry is coming out from where he's been really ill and is now emerging again, and challenges are being presented to him. But maybe there's this existential intelligence that's emerging. It's just something that is coming to me as we're talking. So, yeah, there's a reframe I'd like to give here. When a child can't access learning in the current system, it doesn't mean they don't want to learn. It means the conditions aren't right. So for me, it's enabling parents to change the narrative that's in their head and that's being thrust upon them. Because what's coming out is the child doesn't want to learn. They don't want to learn. They're resisting school. They're avoiding it. That's not the case. It means the conditions aren't right. So for yourself, Nomsa, and your children, can you sort of think of other times learning has actually happened outside that formal school setting?
I think for me, with my children, they always have a study buddy.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I give them a study buddy is because they're meant to be tutors, but they call them study buddies. Then my children
Mm.
came up with the idea.
Okay.
Is because if there are things that are happening that makes them not happy at school,
Mm-hmm.
or if there are things that they are not happy with during their studies, they can communicate with that person. If they can't communicate with me,
Right.
so I always make sure that they have someone. And like when my daughter was going through um, tough times at her school, I knew that my child was intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew that she was in the wrong place. The environment wasn't right for her.
Mm-hmm.
Because if 1 minute at home, I don't shout at my children. So, and then the next thing, if you're with a teacher that shouts at you, so sometimes you can get scared and stuff. So it destroys the confidence. When what you're saying, that if a child doesn't want to go to school, it does not mean that they want to learn. It means that there is something behind it
Mm-hmm.
that that people needs to actually evaluate it, because it means a child, the system is, it means it's not working for that child.
Yes.
Yeah. So then it means you need to have a look at the system, evaluate it, and then see what system that you can produce to your child that can fit in with them, specific for them, because children are different. I've got two kids. My kids are different, completely different. So as long as you recognize that, but I could easily want maybe because my oldest was born first, I want my youngest to behave like my oldest, but they are completely different.
Yeah.
My oldest, she's the perfectionist one. She likes good grades. Kayla, she's someone who does her best, and she will check the outcome and improve based on her outcome. She doesn't get all cranky and stuff. So the other one is the one that she doesn't like her siblings to overtake her. So the other day she was telling me, she was like, I think with my siblings I've got competition. She was like, I thought I was the smart one, but I'm realizing I'm gonna have to up my game.
But what's her definition of smart? That's
I think
interesting.
her definition of smart is working hard and getting good grades. That's what she was telling me, that she's realizing that her siblings are working hard, more harder, and getting good grades. So she needs to up her game as well with her intelligence.
And then we come back to intelligence and smartness, because she's probably smarter in other areas that
Yeah.
we hide.
I think my oldest, she's one of those kids that are gifted in everything. I think they are all blessed. I think it is because of the way I raise them and I talk to them and say, you can become who you want, but don't look at others, what they achieve. Look at you yourself. So they work based on themselves and they realize that actually I'm good at this. I'm good at this. When they work hard, they're like, oh, actually, I'm good at this. Because her teacher went there and her teacher was like, oh, she's good in French. I was like, I'm not French. I don't speak French. Why is she good in French? So I realized it's practice. And this one as well, the youngest, I her teacher as well says she's good in French, which is making me question, have I got a bloodline, French bloodline in me? So which I know I've got inherited, Nigerian inherited. In Nigeria, they have French. So I need to find out whether is that where it's coming from. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's how, for me, with my children, I let them know that you can create your own environment. Don't expect anybody else to create your environment. If you are not happy with something, you make it better yourself and speak to the teachers and staff. And if they feel that they are not, like with the subject, they feel that they are not achieving the results that they are achieving, I tell them, I'm not going to speak to your teacher. You speak to your teacher. Ask for help. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think some of the children as well, they get mixed up. Like most, like if you look at the state schools, they have intelligent children with not those abilities, so they are all in the same class. But if you go to private schools, they separate them. Because like when I went for one of the children was telling me that their best friend, but the best friend is the smart one. The other one, she said she struggles with her studies, so she's in the same group where she gets more help, she gets more assistance. But they are embracing that difference. When they were talking, I was like, uh-huh. Yeah, they're best friend and they understand each other that I'm not in your level, but I embrace my level where I am and unapologetic. I accept myself for who I am.
So
Yeah.
there's learning
Yeah.
that is happening
Yeah.
outside the formal setting of
Yeah.
school. They are learning something about themselves and they're
Yeah.
learning to accept who they are
Yeah.
and not be in competition, but accept who the other person is and who they are. That's huge learning.
I know.
That's self-awareness, and that is so powerful.
Sometimes it can affect the kids if they don't have that self-awareness.
Mm,
Yeah, it can really, 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 because I hear my children when they're talking, and this one will be like talking about her character, and this one is talking about her character, and I'm thinking, I thought you didn't realize your character, but you know your character.
yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that's really, really important, Kero Ani, for the facilities to facilitate it for specific children. But
Mm.
the question is, do we have that kind of a help in this country?
There's pockets, but I think it's so stretched. It's not fully. It's much more needed. And there are systems that are set up so say to help, but they're not, and they're crumbling. They're not able to sustain what they need to do, and everything is just falling apart. So again, I think what has been put in place isn't actually working because it isn't what is now needed. There's something else that is needed that actually acknowledges um, this nervous system that's being that is being compromised, and then the nervous system issue. And instead of slapping labels on it, actually looking at the nervous system regulation and working at that in that sense. Um, in terms of learning happening outside of school, there's things like, I mean, did you ever take your children into the shop and get them to do the money so
Your
that,
teller's got a card now.
yeah. So you're teaching them, they're using it, they're learning by experience how money works, how and actually numbers, how they apply in that situation. How, if you want to, because I used to add up, I used to go around the shop and add up my as things went. Just it's just a rounding, rough estimate. So I knew that when I got to the checkout, I knew how roughly how much I'd spent. And so it's been able to apply it, but it's also there's that learning of, well, I got to the checkout, I didn't add it all up. I haven't got enough money. There's great learning there to check, well, how much have you got and how much you spent, and be mindful. So it's bringing mindfulness into it as well. So there's lots of other ways that you learn outside, or that learning happens. And I remember once one of my daughters, she went to a friend's place, and she was always complaining about what I used to get her to do, tidy her room, to help with the washing and the drying up, and sorting out her clothes. And when they were, I was 14, around that sort of age, we gave them their pocket money and we gave them a clothes allowance so they could go and buy their clothes. And she went to stay with her friends one time, and she came back. She said, "Oh, Mum," she said, "I've realised now why you expect to, get us to do things for herself, because this friend, her mum does everything for her. How's she going to cope when she grows up and doesn't live with her mum? And if her mum's not around?" I said, "Exactly, you know." And to her, it was quite an eye opener. And I was like, wow, yeah, because I'm not always going to be around. And at some point, you need to be the adult and look after yourself. Well, if you're not giving them that experience out, outside of the school setting, so there's so many other ways that they can learn. And, sort of keeping their own money, writing a diary, writing letters or things like that, of thanks, or just writing to a pen pal. Lots of different ways that they can learn outside of the school. we don't realize that. And there are also other things. I mean, extra, your children do other activities, don't they? So what have they learnt in those acting and dancing classes?
To organize their own lives.
Wow, yes.
To organize their
Yes.
own lives. Like my
Yeah.
oldest now, she knows that her life, she has to, primary school, I organized her life secondary school halfway. And
Mm-hmm.
then now she's the one that was telling me what is needed for her life. She will arrange her things that needs to be done. All I
Nice.
have to do is just to make sure that is done.
Mm.
And with this one as well, with my youngest as well, the activities of school activities, she has to tell me what she's doing. Me,
Mm-hmm.
I just be the reminder, make sure it's
Yeah.
done. Yeah, the
Yeah.
homework, some days she remembers to do it, but some days when she's playing, I have to remind her because the playing takes over with her friends.
Mm.
So yeah, they when they go, they learn to look after themselves
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm not always going to be there for them. Yeah. So
Mm.
yeah, Kayla does that. She looks after herself, making sure things are, she's got everything. Because when you go, like if she goes to theater college on Saturday, so she has to go to different classes. So it's to make sure everything is in the bag.
Mm-hmm.
She always lose the jacket. She
Oh
has
gosh.
everything, but the jacket, she always lose it.
Yeah. Yeah. Bless her.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's to be organized, to make sure they are organized
Mm.
and to make sure that they've eaten the right food as well. I think that is really, really important.
Mm.
And I think is just knowing a child their capability as well, what they can do, what they can't do, what kind of a help that they need for
Yeah.
them to fit in that place, because you can't just say a child, all these children are the same. They're not the same. They're
No.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
So
learning.
it's about not removing expectations.
Yeah,
What we're doing is rebuilding capacity.
yeah,
So their capacity to actually to learn and to grow. The expectation of them doing it in this way, it's about how we can give them that capacity to learn and grow, you know? Um, and actually all the other alternatives that people sort of talk about, um, it's recognized, looking at other alternatives is not actually opting out of education. It's often choosing a different doorway in. So things like phased returns, reduced timetables, blended learning, which are options that are very often looked at, which I've seen also don't address the fact that the child has a problem even getting to school. And so sometimes these phased returns, they work once and then they don't because they haven't addressed what actually stops a child getting to the school. Um, but home education or distance learning, project-based learning, or there's what's called interest-led learning, which a lot of what home education is about. True home education, which is where my sister actually home educated her son for a while, and then eventually he went to college. But it was project-based learning and interest-led learning is how she educated him. And my dad did a lot of work with him, woodwork and gardening, and he now runs his own gardening business. And he's learned how to, um, you know, run a business and as well as with the gardening. So it doesn't mean that they can't get on. If they're not at school, there is other things they can learn and there's other ways of learning. And when I first trained as a teacher, as an infant teacher, even though I ended up as a secondary school teaching maths, I actually started off training as an infant teacher. And it was through projects that they were taught. It wasn't, separate subjects. We would have a project, and the English, the maths, and everything else would come out of that project. And that sort of went a bit by the wayside over the years. But so all of those are different ways in to learning. So coming back to parents, because we're looking at the time, I know we've sort of quite a short time here today. I don't know, want to go on a few more minutes of the
Yeah, I
time.
don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the important thing here is about parents being stuck and then being able to reclaim their agency, their own feeling of I'm in control here, I'm setting the intention and actually influencing the outcome rather than thinking they can't. Because, say, this is where most parents or many parents feel stuck. And they're made to feel that they're being reckless by taking their child out of school. They're made to feel that they're overprotective because they're keeping them home. And it can actually, it's not just the school doing that. Sometimes it's the parents themselves end up falling out because maybe one seems to be more overprotective and the other one is, oh, get them back into school. So you've got relationships that are suddenly starting to fall apart because there's not that cohesion between parents. They're made to feel that they're non-compliant. And that's, I think, the word here is compliance, isn't it? Schools expect compliance. So there's another narrative that I think needs to be changed. And emotionally driven rather than rational. They're made to feel that the parents are being driven by their emotions rather than thinking logically or thinking rationally. And so they're really made to feel completely wrong rather than being able to sort of stand, well, no, this is really how I feel, and trusting their own intuition because they know their child. Who knows their child better than a parent, you know? And actually this shame keeps parents frozen. And the fear of judgment actually stops them exploring alternatives because there is this huge fear that is going on. They're going to be judged, they're going to be penalized, so can't explore other avenues. And there's also this waiting for permission. And it's something I've actually just unlocked in myself as I was exploring things going on in my nervous system and what's been holding me back all these years. And it comes back to there's a part of me that's been waiting for permission.
Oh, I
And
figured
that
that
has
a
had a
long time
huge
ago, Carol
impact.
Ann.
Sorry.
I figured that a long time ago.
Yeah. And I know I sort of I've recognized it a few times over the years and I've done some work on it. This really brought it home. And it's like, wow. And sometimes you know something, and then all of a sudden something happens and it's like, whoa, yes, you get it. And these parents are waiting for permission, and that is delaying everything. There's an element of that. So it's being able to say, no, you have permission to make these decisions. You have permission because you know your child. And give yourself permission. You don't need my permission or someone else's permission. It's you give yourself permission and have the healing going on. So there's a reframe, I think, here for parents is you don't need to have everything figured out to make a protective choice. Just remember you're protecting your child and you know that their well-being is more important than anything. And that's what's said out there, that there's so much done about mental health and how important it is. And yet, what are we doing to our children? And what are we doing to the parents? Because again, it's their mental health that is also affected here. It's a huge, huge impact. So, you know, by being able to reclaim your agency as parents, what it looks like is actually you pausing. You're just taking that pause. Take a breath. Instead of pushing, you're pushing against something that actually is so rigid, you're never going to move it. But in that pause, it gives you that time to reflect. And then asking different questions. Look up more powerful questions. What other ways could you be asking questions? Because if you're asking the same question, you're getting the same response. That's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different response.
Yeah.
So what questions could you ask? And a simple question is, what will it take for us to have a breakthrough in this? What will it take for a way forward for my child to open up? What will it take for my child's nervous system to be able to become regulated? And what will it take for my child to be able to learn in feeling safe? These are some of the key issues that are coming up. So there's some questions there, and it's just putting those questions out there and letting the answers come. But it's asking more powerful questions and actually standing up and saying, this isn't working. Not saying it's wrong, right, or anything like that. It isn't working. That's the bottom line. And you can't argue with the truth. So another question is, how can we make this work in the best interest of my child and everybody else? Because it's not working for the school. It's not working for teachers. Their mental health isn't being helped with their stress levels. How can we make it work? What will it take for it to work? And the bottom line here is choosing well-being over, I like this phrase, optics. You've got we got to achieve this, got to achieve that. It's like, that's the driving force. No. Change the narrative. The driving force is, what's it going to take for well-being to be the key factor here? So what do you get in all of that? And how do you think, well, that's a nice question. How do you think courage doesn't always look loud? Sometimes it looks quiet and steady.
I like that, and I like the way you said, even yourself, you had to find that confidence within you. I think, and wanting people to, because sometimes we want to fit in with people, but we are not meant to fit in. We're meant to, we are meant to find that intelligence at the moment. That's why we are working with Pastor James, unleashing that your intelligence and calling back your souls where the errors of your ancestors affected your soul, and the errors of your personal whatever you done that affected your soul. So we're calling back, putting the puzzles together.
Mm-hmm.
So when I step outside, I'm stepping outside as me, as Nomsa. And what you're saying is, most of the people, what I have realized myself is, people, they are not living in truth. They're not living for who they're meant to be.
Yeah.
There's fear of being judged.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm living myself, I'm going to be judged, or I'm not going to fit in with this group, or you are not meant to fit in with this group. You are meant to show up for as you are, and implement whatever your assignment, whatever God's assignment has given you, and change that person is whatever, change their lives and make them better, and then move on. You're not meant to go to them like you're with me at Ngosi talk shows And like you said, you wanted to bring the guy for interview. I'm still waiting for the guy, Kero Ann.
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
you're
something
you're
there.
meant to you're meant to change. I always say to people, like you talk about Nkosi talk show coaches, and I say to them, I like these guys because they accepted me for who I am. If tomorrow God comes back and say, no, sir, here's £1 billion, you become a billionaire. I say, I know the people that I'm going to work with is the people who've chosen me when I was nobody. And those people, they made a choice to teach me what they know and to be around me. So I'm learning from these people. They're not judging me. So I always tell people, sometimes you'll be surprised what people do. Sometimes I go for coffee and some people trying to convince me to be like them. And I'm thinking, I've moved on from that kind of a character, the mindset. I can't be like you. I have to be me. I have to, and I understand you can't be like me as well. So why do you want me to be you? So it's those kind of things that when it comes to children, when it comes to adult, parents end up blaming themselves. Like you said, Kero Annie, they like the home at home, they disagree. But when you have a problem like that, this is when you have to come as a team. Because that team, whether you agree or you disagree, the decision you make are the one that are going to take your child to the next level tomorrow. So for me, I always say, sometimes even if I don't agree with something, I just say it's not for my sake, but it's for my child's sake. So let them do it.
Mm.
And I even Hope, if you meet Hope's father, my daughter's father, I will tell you, this one, she's so annoying, but she gets things
Oh,
done. He will tell you,
yeah.
Nomsa is annoying, but she gets things done. The
Done.
reason why
Yeah.
he calls me annoying is because if I'm doing something, I want him involved. Because tomorrow I don't want him to feel that he's been left out. I don't want, if I have a child with you, and I'm doing something with your child, I want you involved in that journey because I want you to remember the journey that it wasn't meant for me, it's meant for you and your child too. So for me, I don't take no for an answer. If I'm doing something today, Carol, and for your child, and I let you know, and you are busy, let me the day where you are not busy, we can both go and do what we're supposed to be doing. And they'll be like,
Mhm.
what? I'm like, yeah. When are you free then? There's a day you're going to be free. So when are you free? Even Martin knows. Uh, if he's doing something, he's busy, and I say, Kayla is doing this, when are you free?
Mm.
Are you free to do this with her? Or are you free to take us, even if he doesn't need to? But it's just the memory that you can't take away from someone. But they call me annoying, but actually I'm right. But they call me annoying. For me, I get opportunity. My job is to find the opportunities, is to evaluate the child,
Mhm.
what are they good at? And then the father comes in and now make the final decision with me. And I'm not looking for you to argue with me. All I'm looking for is for you to assess the situation based on you and the child. The decision is based on the child. Because
Mm.
if we argue, that child it will miss out. So
Yeah.
I think that's where the mindset now comes in and the stress not to
Mm.
blame ourselves. Because when you're stressed, anything, you can blame each other, you can
Mhm.
do anything. But it's in those moments where when you have problems and realizing it's not your fault
Yeah.
and the things got to be sorted out, but got to be sorted out, everyone has to suck it up and stay focused and sort things out. Yeah.
Stay focused. Find a way to come into focus. Have a
Yeah.
glass of water. Have a drink of water to start with, because to be honest, we are so dehydrated that causes major problems, and most people don't realize how dehydrated they are. So,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
a nice sip of water. We don't need to guzzle it, and
Yeah.
just actually focusing on it going down just helps you to come back into the moment and hydrate
Yeah,
your
but
body.
yeah, I think parents it takes a lot.
Mm,
I got taught by this by Hopper's grandmother. That
yeah.
woman, I forever am so grateful because I think she raised her children, but then she realized actually parents don't, whatever the decision or whatever they do, they never consider how the children gets affected. So she was like, whatever you do when it comes to children, evaluate whether you don't get along with their father or whatever happens, make a decision based on your child. In a long run, how is it gonna affect them?
That's
And I think that's important even with the parents going with the teachers. If the teachers are not listening, you can actually help them to listen.
mm. And that's where the questioning, changing your questions
Yeah,
rather than pushing against them. It's
yeah.
taking that pause and reflecting, and yeah,
Taking away the blame as well is
yes,
important.
yeah, yeah. So we're going to round up.
Yeah, we're gonna round
We're
up
going to
now.
round up with, oh, I like this reframe. We are not raising children to survive systems. We're raising them to know themselves.
Yeah,
So if we hold that in our consciousness and say, and have that as our driving, let's say a driving force, but something that is behind what keeping to that. We're not raising children to survive systems. We're raising them to know themselves. And if parents take that mantra on board, again, that will help them to find their agency, their sense of, right, I can influence this. So
yeah.
reimagining education doesn't mean pretending this is easy or accessible for everyone. It means refusing to let fear be the only voice in the room.
And fear can have a voice, Carol Ann, in your life.
Mm.
It
But it
can.
doesn't have to be the only one or the driving one. It can
Yeah.
just sit in the background. Yeah. So it's raising the volume on the other voices and allowing them a chance to be heard. So, what's your parting comments, Namsa?
For me, my parting comments is to the parents and observe before labeling. Spend time studying the child, their natural rhythm. When do they focus? When do they focus best? It may be what environment helps them thrive. Observations prevent misjudgment, and also work with the teachers without blaming. Because what I find is when you don't blame someone, they listen. But
Mm-hmm.
when there is blame, or sometimes parents can blame themselves as well, or they start blaming, maybe I did something wrong or whatsoever. But it's just have the mindset of wanting to solve the problem
Mm-hmm.
and finding that solution. And God as well will hear your cry when you cry. For me, that's why I say I love God, because when I'm solving problems, I was off for 2 weeks last week. I was meant to do other things. I was like, I had things that I planned. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to take 2 weeks off and just focus on things. I'll be working, but not too much. And I ended up doing other things.
Oh.
God went, you need to focus on this. And I was like, but I took time to do this. I ended up doing what I was asked to do. So sometimes having a relationship with God is important.
Yeah.
It helps with your child. I've seen my children. I can tell you, I can't raise my children by myself. Relying on their father and myself, my own instincts, it's a disaster.
Oh dear.
It's a disaster. So I don't know people who are not Christians how they survive, but because you need that strength within you. You need that you need to, God lives within us. You need to activate that strength. Say, give me strength where I have no strength.
I
But
like that. Give me strength where I have no strength.
yeah, that's what I do. Give me strength, God. Take away my fear. Whatever is within me, that fear, take it away. And then I have to ask, replace. You got to replace with
Oh,
something.
yes. Yeah. Don't leave a void, because the universe
No.
will just stick something in for you.
Replace it with something. Take away my shame. Replace it with dignity. Yeah. That's what I leave you guys with. And if you want to contact Carol Ann, guys, you can contact Carol Ann by following her on her social media, or you can contact her through me. And if you have a child and you're struggling, Carol Ann does activities as well for the children. Brain activities, brain gyms, called brain gym. So she can do that. If a child has an anxiety, she can help. And if you need coaching as well, you can go to the website is www.hseia.coach, and just follow us on our social media, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook groups. We have 2 groups. Please do join us. And join me on TikTok, guys. And I'm actually doing well on TikTok.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah, I'm actually doing well on TikTok. I was like, why didn't I do this before? But I don't even understand it.
Okay. Everything in its right and proper time.
Yes.
Yes.
Live with
Okay.
grace, everyone, and God bless.
God bless.